For episode 4, we have Kumar. So something really cool about Kumar is that he used to get really good grades back in middle school, but when he found coding, he was like, "Wow, I'm not doing any of this other stuff, and I'm really going to dig into this whole world of building." And since he's done really cool stuff, he's started a bunch of companies. He's exited a company. He's moved to South Korea to live there for a while to do a bunch of hackathons for a year. But when he was in his grade 12 year, and now he's taking a year off from university, and now he's in San Francisco currently. And yeah, it's been absolutely amazing talking to him and getting to know more about his journey. And I hope people find a lot of value from his story of learning and building. There's so many cool things you have done with like going to hackathons and then building monuments, serendipity, and then I've also obviously seen that application you made with the news, like the AI that generates the news. There's so many things to dig in here, so I'm hoping you could like guide me through your very start of your journey from your childhood, how you got into tech and how you just got into building things and how these projects came along from the genesis.
Yeah, from the Genesis block itself, right?
Yeah.
It's always a cause effect chain that keeps on going. And when people ask me, okay, well, what have you done? Usually my school friends, and how's it going? And so what I remember how it all started for me to be in tech um, was so my mom is like a single parent, right? And we have been in like financial constraints since the beginning. I guess you can only imagine what it's like to be a child of a single mother in India, right? It's a very conservative country.
Yeah.
And during that time, it's like I could see around, and I realized if I don't if I don't earn, I'm fucked. It's true for almost everyone, but like I always had this very strong urge of being really independent from the beginning itself, right? And I was trying to find ways of how I could, get out of a vicious circle that I've seen many others around me go into. Like
Hmm.
a lot of my friends, the bigger ones, when I was like a kid, I saw them really just like learning, being into this education system for so long, and they're not getting anything out of it. They spend like thousands of dollars, and in the end, it's really nothing. It's for nothing, right? And what I realized is from the beginning, I had this in my mind that I'm gonna fuck the education system. Like fuck it, I'm not gonna do this. It's not for me. I cannot do all the SAT preps. I cannot do
Hmm.
the IIT thing that we have in
Yeah.
India. I just cannot. Right? I just have to get out of it. So I was trying to find out escape mechanisms um, out of it, and coding was one of those.
Hmm.
So, and coding was one of those. So it's not like it's a bit spontaneous. How it happened was when I was 12 years old, right? I was just like very curious. How are websites made? I'm pretty sure this is the same for everyone. How does everyone make websites? I wanted to make one, and I was fortunate enough to for my mom to like give me some laptop computer access so I could like look at websites
Hmm.
and could at least think of okay, I want to make a website, right?
Hmm.
And I used to sort of Facebook and Twitter. I was like, okay, I want to make something like this, and it was a lame thought, but it was thought as. So I just Googled, as everyone does, how to make a website, and I found out Wix.com and Weebly.com. I was like barely
Yeah.
11 years old at that time, and I looked at it. I made some websites. It was like very cool. It was like, hey mom, look at this. And my mom was proud of it, and it was so it was sweet. But then I realized, okay, I mean, these are websites that make websites. How do I make a website that make websites, right? How do I make the Wix? That is when I have to actually learn to code. A lot of people start that by learning with Scratch or something at school, which I think is really it's like DSA prep of a sort, but
Yeah.
when you actually go to do it, it's not that useful.
Yeah.
It is useful in getting jobs, but when you're actually building, you don't quite see it, right? Because
Yeah.
libraries are already written for you. So yeah, I just started building. How? started watching YouTube tutorials back in the days. I don't remember their names anymore. I think those YouTubers are now inactive. But um,
Mm-hmm.
I just there was something called Microsoft Front Page. There was this. I don't know if you remember those days, but I mean, yeah, I guess you. But um,
Microsoft front page. I don't remember that. What was that?
so it was like a drag and drop HTML component thing, and like it created like an HTML page, which you could then put on FTP. It was so yeah, I used to do that, right? And then I think around like 2016 or something, November
Mm-hmm.
2016. My mom saw in a newspaper, oh, there's this WordPress conference. It's called WordCamp in Nashik. It's a city in India. And there, my mom was like, "Hey, Kumar, just go there, right? Just go there, see how it's around." And I went there, and I think it was the best decision I made in my life. Well, my mom, but still, I did go, and it went so well. Everyone adored me because like, I was a kid, who was like in a
Mm-hmm.
conference. It was a huge confidence boost. I saw everyone there making WordPress plugins and themes, and like, um, and I think serving the community in a sense because everyone there was like using these plugins and themes, and right. So I
Mm-hmm.
started making those. Okay, and that was around the time when I realized, okay, this is like very constrained space. It's just WordPress, I gotta actually learn to code outside of it, which is when I ventured into JavaScript and learning a Twitter bot, making a Twitter bot,
Mm-hmm.
and then making full stack apps. I remember um my friend Hardeep Asrani gave me this Vesboss course, a Vesboss Advanced React course back in 2018.
He gave
Today
you
it's
what,
like
sorry?
Vesboss Advanced React course. It was like a
Okay.
full stack React dev course, and I did that. Okay, and I think that has probably generated me around just insane amount of dollars. Like that course itself.
Mm-hmm.
For the upcoming years, let's say more than 70K.
Mm-hmm.
That course alone, right? And that was I think from that point on, I just kept building apps. I just kept building apps, went on Twitter, and just talk. I just kept talking on Twitter
Mm-hmm.
about it. Right? I found people like me. I found
Mm-hmm.
all other cool kids who are also creating apps and creating
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and talking about it. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of these were like in complete India here and there, and slowly I'm seeing them all come in Bangalore now, and now we kind of have a community, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and now this community is like very much close and more caters to the let's say the Silicon Valley of India, and it's very connected to the Silicon Valley, the actual one in SF Bay
Mm-hmm.
Area. So yeah, I think if you really wanted to point from the Genesis block, I'd say that is where it started, and that is how it
Mm-hmm.
began, and that is what took me where I kind of am.
Mm-hmm. Super cool. Okay. So there's so many things I want to dive in there. Like the WordPress
A lot.
conference, first of all, you mentioned. I really I really find that super cool because I feel like with every person I know who has done really cool things in their life, there's always been times where they were almost like pushed to be independent, and when they were sort of gained that autonomy in their own lives about like doing things that you know they can go out there even with these even between all these adults, they can have like a stand of themselves. That's when
Yeah.
they started to doing some cool things that were more exceptional than other people.
Um.
Mm-hmm.
and-
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And the question that comes from that is, um, I think a lot of people think of doing these full stack development courses. They want to do that Coursera course online because at the end of the day, like online, the information online that's available now is just literally a whole ocean, like just never ending ocean. You can do so many courses and all that stuff. But I think something that's super weird is even though all this information is available online for completely free, people
Yeah.
just don't do it because they sort of don't have the motivation to do it. Like there's a statistic that out of all these MOOC courses that are online that are asynchronous, only 3% are completed. which is
Yeah.
an insane statistic just because of the value of the information that's available. Like you genuinely don't have to pay for any boot camp or the or a university for that. So one of my question that comes is how did you feel that drive to like do that course for yourself, especially at such a young age? Like how did you just push through that course and find that, because a lot of people just can't.
Yep. So a lot of people who watch tutorials, I see them watch tutorials just for the sake of it. They don't really have in mind that, okay, after doing this, I'm gonna build something, right?
Hmm.
Like usually how it goes for people is, at least my friends, I've seen them. They watch a tutorial and then they try to do it, and that's the end. That's the end of it, right? And
Hmm.
not going to work until you really have a project of your own in mind that you want to build right after or simultaneously while watching the tutorial, right?
Hmm.
So you're not going to be able to watch a tutorial. It's going to be boring if you have nothing in mind
Hmm.
about it. No plans, nothing. It's going to be boring. So even now, when I try to watch some cool tutorials, I just forget it. Like later on, I just forget it, right? And I know I forget it. I know I will because I don't have any project in mind to do after that. I just watch for the
Hmm.
sake of it. I was curious about this new technology and how does it look like. Also, after a point, you really just don't need tutorials anymore. You can only just do with documentation. Um, but to get at that point, you really at first I think videos really help you. So really, the lesson there is really just build, just make some
Hmm.
projects. And even if you don't know shit, like if you know nothing, you can still just try with some. Just come up with a bare design. Just come up with a bare Figma design. Just talk to people around you, and see who can make what. Form a community. Just build something, and
Hmm.
learn, build, and publish, ship, launch. That's really the only thing to do. Tutorials, I think, is one vector to reach there, right? It's a vector to achieve what you had in your brain. It's like you're the director of a film. You don't know how to make a film, but you still have the film in mind, right? So you have it in mind. That is what is important, because if you did not have anything in mind, it doesn't matter how many tool sets you get. Like you're not gonna make a film, right? So there's that.
100%. I really admire that, and the reason is because just how many people go down that path, and
Yeah,
myself including. Like last year, for example, I had this goal before I was starting my first year of university that I have to watch the Harvard CS50 course. Why?
yeah,
I don't fucking know why. And that's the reason I didn't complete that course, because I didn't have that proper why at the end. I didn't that why at the end. I didn't have a project to apply that learning towards. I don't even know why I was learning that course. And think if it comes down to all honesty, asking myself again and again why I did that, honestly, it comes down to like having it sort of as a credential on my resume and LinkedIn, because at the end of the day, there wasn't a lot of end result or end project I was applying that to, and that's why I quit it. And the reason I say that is because I've seen it every single time when I've done something exceptional or something, learned a skill that's always been through a project. And I think that connects back to what you were saying earlier, that learning through DSA and stuff, like you can sure do that. But at the end of the day, the project based learning is what sticks in your mind, that you have something to
sure.
showcase for. Yeah.
Oh, I
Uh,
got it. Yeah, the Harvard CS150, right? So I recently tried to watch it, right? Because I wanted to do some CS50 for my school, just to see its basic principles. I couldn't catch up with it. Like I left it in the middle because I knew I won't need it. I mean, I would for the exams, but for that I could literally just, I guess, Google one day before and then just write something up and then forget it later, right? Because it's very forgettable. I mean, as long as you don't have something to really do out of it quickly, right?
mhm.
If there is quick utility that you get out of something, then you will learn it. At least for me, it's like that. Though there are a lot of university-minded people who are good at math and who can really, I think, digest these, let's say, a lot of data for like later use, even if they don't have its utility quickly. So there are those kind of people. For them, the utility is basically exams.
Mhm.
So yes, though I was never one of them, right? And I think it's same for you too, and that is why you couldn't remember those Harvard
Mhm.
150, or you didn't feel like wanting to do it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And I feel like honestly when you're the utility you find for what you're learning is something beyond what just school's teaching you, or like beyond just the marks you're getting, I feel like you genuinely remember it better and you actually care about it. Like I can trace every single biggest learning of mine that I still remember back to actually doing it in a project. Like 3 years ago, I made a short film. I made it from scratch. I just had an idea, and I just you learned Premiere Pro to make that film, and that's why I remember every single principle of Premiere Pro. Whereas if I just did a Udemy tutorial of it, I wouldn't remember any of it.
true.
Yeah, it's 100%. And I think something important that goes alongside what you mentioned about just building things is community. And you do get motivated by community. And I feel like there's nothing better than just being around the circle and being around the people who are also building things similar to you. You
Yeah.
mentioned like Twitter does that for you. And I want to ask, how other ways have you found a community for yourself? Or has it mostly just been building and posting on Twitter and that's where you built your network?
I think Twitter is very unique to what it does, and I mean there are communities on LinkedIn and all that. But I've seen those communities are like mostly fake-ish of sort, or they're most like they're catered to HR department,
Yeah,
and Twitter is more of a real on-ground building energy. Like Twitter friends are the ones you'd actually want to meet in life.
yeah,
On LinkedIn, I don't know. On
yeah,
LinkedIn, I don't know. I mean, on LinkedIn, people are posting their what I guess LinkedIn skill certificates and like
yeah.
and so so when it comes to forming communities, I mean Facebook groups too. I mean, well, really no one uses it these days. I mean, at least not the Gen Z. So it depends on what kind of community you want to get in. But if it's the Silicon Valley community, oh, Twitter is your place.
And guide me through how you found your biggest break in the startup world. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but if it was Monument, that was your first engineering job.
So I did have engineer. Okay, it wasn't quite engineering job. It was just simple web dev and creating games and selling them. So I did do jobs before, but yes, you can say it that it was my big break when I joined Monument, and and I think that was when I truly got a view into okay what it could be like in Silicon Valley and how companies are formed and how people invest in companies and how founders work because I got to closely work with the founder, Sijil Wen, and working with him closely really just gave me a lot of insights. And not just that, but after him and the subsequent companies I worked and his network I was introduced to, it really it really got me into the whole let's say the Silicon Valley bit, you know.
Hmm.
That was the big break. Yeah.
So how did you end up meeting Sigil?
I never met him. Even till now I have never met him. It's
Oh
just
no, as
online.
in like online.
Um yep. So I had a friend, Digvijay Singh Rathore, okay, and he was, I met him in Bangalore. At first, I met him on Twitter. Again, it's the whole Twitter map. That is where it all starts. And then he recommended me to Sejal, okay, and he was with him, and then I joined Monument with Digvijay, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, yep, I know. I think I. It's hard to track all the connections online.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's like if you try to go back to okay and like watch all those Discord messages and how it all went. I remember watching Sejal's stream. He used to like stream daily on his own
Yeah.
Sejal TV. Okay, and I used to just climb in and talk to him there. So if there's like any important learning, it's that if you're new to this, if you're new to and if you want to get into I guess the valley culture, if you just want to see how it is, if you're not in America, right? Then really just talk to founders, and provide I guess some value to them so that they would want you in your company.
Mm-hmm. And how did you end up providing or showing that you'll provide value?
So, I mean, it's okay. That is very spontaneous, and also a lot of it involves serendipity. So you really have to hit a lot of shots, and see what sticks on the wall. It's
Mm-hmm.
really just that, right? Um, and I think Monument was when it really stuck to the wall, and after that, I think whatever I tried to stick to the wall really stuck because once it starts, it's hard to stop it, right?
Hmm.
Um, so what did I do to, I guess, prove value? Honestly, I've never done any technical interviews till now, ever. That's like, I think, and if I do, I will fail at it. I will fail so badly. Because when I'm like made to pair code in like an interview, I suck at it so much, right?
You're made to
Um,
what, sorry?
like when I'm made to like pair code in an interview, I suck at it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it happens because like someone's watching you on behind your shoulders, and like like there's something at stake, right? I can't code at that. Also, there's like DSA questions which have nothing to do with the job usually. So um, there are these things. So it's that if you can vibe with the founder, really just vibe with the founder, while you provide value, while you can be more than a coder, because everyone's a coder. The truth is, if you look in India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, you'll find so many very talented engineers. Much like they're talented engineers all around, and they are paid very less. So I mean, technically, there's so much competition out there for way less money. So really, how do you differentiate yourself? And the answer is you have to vibe with the founders. Like you need
Mm-hmm.
to. It's an in circle out circle game, um, and I've seen this play out over and over. And it's to provide value. It's more than just like coding because everyone can code.
Hmm. Yeah, I
Yeah,
really find that interesting. Uh, yeah, truly, because in like the whole Asian culture is so it's like almost a stereotype, right? Not almost, it is the stereotype just to become an engineer, and just because there's so many people just doing that, the quality just goes down. And 100% agree with that. That when you truly care about something beyond just money, beyond just doing it for the sake of getting the title of software engineer, the prestige, I think you genuinely do hit some points that make you stand out. And yeah, 100%. I believe your experience at Serendipity and Monument really proves you that you did make yourself stand out, as opposed to other people who are just doing it for the clout, quote unquote.
So when you say doing it for the cloud, right? I think what you probably mean is everyone's trying to get into the fan companies, and there's just this
Basically, yeah,
yeah. So there's like it's literally a topic of itself. If you go on YouTube, it's everyone's talking about
yeah.
hey, crack this DSA interview to get here, and then I did this, and like get into this college and the placement and all that stuff. And they're all it's the classic blue ocean red ocean strategy where really you have to just don't go into the red ocean, don't go where there are like I guess millions of people competing, just don't go there because
Hmm.
if you know you're going to fail there, you're not going to go there, right? And I see a lot of people really not accepting it, and then they still try to go into this game of okay, I'll get good grades at college, I'll get into a good college, and some company comes in and please, if they have mercy, they can just get me a job. It's for maybe if you're the top 1% and the smartest people, it will work for you. But for 99, it's not going to work for you. And the 99% thinks they're going to be in the 1%, so it all just fucks up. And so yeah, it's like you're not everyone's going to get into Harvard, not everyone's going to get into the IIT, you know. So just accept that and find other ways. And I
Hmm.
accepted it at the very beginning. I tried to go into these foundation courses. In India, we have this huge drive to go into the IIT college, and to get
Yeah.
into it, we have to do a lot of prep. And really, I just knew I couldn't, right? I just knew I could. And
And for the context of the for the to give context to the audience, IIT is basically the Harvard of
India.
India. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's harder to get into IIT than it's to get into Harvard, right? So
I
just the
did
sheer
not
amount.
know that.
Um, it's like I think for IITs there are like millions competing. For Harvard's
Hmm.
Harvard, it's like acceptance rate. If you look at it for IIT, it's like 0.02%. It's just more. It's more for Harvard, right?
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I mean, really, just don't compete where you can't compete. There, there's that, and that's what I found out. Really, just go online, okay, talk to founders, build stuff, build cool stuff, and really just be found online. Just have an online presence, and it'll all pay out.
Yeah, I really admire that, like the way you think about that. And just the fact that you accepted that fact for yourself really early on, which make and I'm gonna challenge you and poke you in a bit here. That a lot of people they do think, well, like there's it's almost like the bell curve. Like the people in the middle of the bell curve, which is like where most people are, they think they're in the top 1%, and the people in the top 1% think they're the most bottom 0.01%. So I
Oh,
think the question I want to ask is, how did you how did you go on to thinking that you don't want to be in that 1% and you can't be in that top 1% and rather you just find your own ocean to be? How did you approach that? I think stuff.
yeah. So I was okay. One thing I think we all know is like you have to be really good at math, right? To be able to be very good at DSAs to get into these bank companies. And you don't have to be good at math to be able to get into these bank companies, but you do have to be good at math to get into colleges that bank companies go to, right? So I was very good at math when I was like in 10th grade. I was very good in science and math. I was a STEM kid. But then I started to code. I learned coding and then I started earning money. And then I was like, oh, fuck this. I don't want to learn shit. I don't want to learn math. I just want to build. I want to build things that provide value to people. I want to bring things that bring utility to this world and also generate money for me. And I want to build things that are, let's say, that provide me more freedom, right? That provide me more, let's say, I wouldn't be in the reins of someone else, right? And when you're like studying so much and like trying to compete against like millions of other Asians who are as smart or smarter than you,
Hmm.
you just have to accept it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out, and also you're trying to like optimize for something that has very less statistical chances. And also, I just knew from the beginning that I don't want to sit at one place and look at a book and practice some tests and try to optimize some scores. It's just not for me. Because I knew it,
Hmm.
that is why I tried to find ways to escape out of it. And that is
Hmm.
exactly what I did. So, so it was, it's like, I'm not trying to, let's say, discourage people from really trying to, get into the other Fang way. But just know that your chances are slim. A lot of people I know haven't been able to do it. And if you are one of those, you will know you're one of those.
Yeah, fair enough. And yeah, I feel like it's important to be really self-aware in these kinds of things, 100%. And yes, for some people, it does happen to be the Fang way, whether it's prestige that like, or they just like how big of an impact these Fang companies have in the world. They choose to pursue that path, and yeah, I feel like that's completely fair and completely depends from person to person and their priorities. So super cool how you chose this path, which makes me ask the question, in this whole ecosystem of like and software engineering or just like building things and putting them out there and just going down this tech route, what are some bad recommendations that you have heard in this ecosystem and this career path?
I say some bad recommendations.
Bad
Um,
recommendations or bad advice?
say yeah, it's to okay. Now, a bad advice I see is some people say, okay, you have to like go to this roadmap. There's like a roadmap that you have to learn first this technology, then you learn this, and then you learn that, and then you slowly become a engineer by going to this route. Um, and then everyone tries to do that, and what this implies is when you are a good, let's say a very good engineer in terms of like how to do it, right? Then you try to like optimize these processes. You end up wasting a lot of time on things that you could have done other things, basically. So, um, what I think is a better option to choose is to just do things how you see is fit. It's really just um, if you want to build something, just try to build it. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of advice I see out there is anything but that. It's it's a lot of advice I see out there is like, okay, just get this one AI course and this will set you for life. This it's
Yeah.
not gonna work. um, Not just that, but there's just so many courses out there, and it's really just it's available for free. Just go on YouTube it. Just go and like Google stuff. You'll find it. Find a community, and it's pretty simple stuff, but people have tried to like streamline its processes that and like try to put everyone through this filter, and a lot of the people don't get filtered out and out of that while going in and thinking that they won't be filtered out of it. So yeah, it's really just build something people want. I think that's what YC says, but it's really just any advice I see is usually not build something people want.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm talking perspective of like I think the third world, which is like India or in Asia, right? I think they have it mostly figured out in the United States. Um, but when it comes to I think the communities I've been in, they really like I've seen a lot of my friends ask me how to like stand out and stand up the crowd and like not to get into this entire rat race while they are in the rat race, right? And really, my answer to that is just stop doing what everyone else is doing and just like the system will try to present you options, right? The system will tell you, okay, you do this, you do that, or this, right? And the problem with that is you see these three options and you're made to choose one, but then you could just be like, oh, whoa, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean there are only three options? I can see
Mm-hmm.
the fourth one. I was going there. I mean, I do see some people. You'll always find many people going there, because that is where if you choose a path where you think you're alone, just go on Twitter, just go online, and see. You will find many others on your path, and you will find support. So it's like you don't have to go in a way that was like streamlined for like millions of people to like grow an economy, right? And yes, if you work if like all the poor people started working in textile industries, and yes, the GDP will grow. Sure, you're trying to they're trying to put you through that system basically where you will learn some technology and you'll get some skills and someone will employ you perhaps. But that's a system they're putting you through, and you don't have to go through it. I mean, you could, but you don't have to. And you could always be like, oh wait, there might be another way, and you could go to the another way. So don't do what everyone else is doing. That is one thing I've seen usually work out for me. um, yeah. It's very, though I would also say it usually depends. It doesn't always work. It really depends on context.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think this is a very tricky topic to talk about because like the biggest point of all is you need to be ridiculously self-aware of your own
Yeah.
capabilities and of your own competencies and strengths in certain areas, because at the end of the day, like how our strengths are measured is by being them against other people, and when you actually start to
Yep.
see that some of your strengths do way more way more than your other strengths, and they stack high against the strengths against the skill set of
Yeah.
other people, and that's when you realize that maybe I can take that, I can construct that fourth path for myself. Maybe I can get out of that, maybe I can get out of that job factory of university that we're trying to be put through and make my own sort of building journey.
Yeah,
So yeah, I really love that. And I also really like the part that you talk about the filtering, because at the end of the day, like you mentioned, like I think this is tying back to what we talked before about the project based learning, that you just do your own thing and that's how you acquire the best skills that you acquire. And there's nothing more to that. It's such a simple process, but people don't do it because it's scary, it's not comforting. It's, you fail more in this, but the whole fact is because you fail, you learn so much more.
yeah. And also the failing in this is usually better than failing in the traditional part, in the traditional
Hmm.
sense. So it's like if you choose a path that no one else had chosen, and if you fail at that, you will be an example. Sure, but if you go in a traditional path and you fail, there were already many examples. If you're not setting any
Yeah.
precedent, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, 100% agree. And like with I think the thing with schools is that they like, your marks stay on your transcript, your failures stay on your transcript, and that's not the case when it comes to like this project based learning outside in the world at all. Like you could fail like freaking 50 things, and you have
Yeah,
a track record of that. Sure, you have it on your resume, but again, like you mentioned, you did something, you stepped outside of comfort zone, you built something, you learned a lot, and you got something out of it. But as opposed to like not doing like the best in the course, like that's too common. You need something more than that. You need, like when you get out and do something innovative, it shows your entrepreneurial ability, your ability to innovate so much more. And I think that's something that's really keen to note here is that, like when we say that, you mentioned that you have this whole process streamlined for people to go through a bunch of jobs to like learn a bunch of
mhm,
these skills and land jobs at like tech companies, and well, perhaps grow the GDP of the country, grow the economy. I think so, I had a conversation with a friend that I found something super cool, that people want to push us to stream in the streamlined path because it's so secure. But at the end of the day, these big companies like Google, Facebook, Apple, they were just startups like every other startup. How they started was these people, these founders taking that third door, making that fourth path, getting rid of that conventional uh, job factory. And if they didn't do that, these stable systems in the world wouldn't exist. So I think it
true.
really just comes down. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, they created the institutions. Yeah,
Yeah, they created the institution.
very well said. Yeah, um, it's basically to stand out. You don't always have to follow the carved paths. I mean, yes. Okay, it's the paths that are made are actually good for the economy. They do need some support system, a definite path to succeed. And I'm not like fully dismissing it because it is required for many economies to flourish like that. Okay, one thing I would say is like in the US, the systems that are created are actually pretty good. Like you don't have to find out ways to carve out of it. Like, okay, if I was in the US, I probably would not have to. I would not think of trying to, let's say, um, get into Silicon Valley or find jobs out of the school system or find jobs so early. Like I would not have tried to do that if I was in the US. I would probably would have tried to, let's say, optimize for the scores to get into Harvard or something because
Hmm.
that way really works there, and it's the most optimized way there. I think, in my opinion. But when it comes to these third world countries, the systems I've seen are usually made to like uplift their economies and are not quite fine tuned for innovation. They're fine tuned for factory jobs, but they're not fine tuned for innovation. And United States, I think, is quite an exception there because the people that come out of these great universities are the innovators, and also the ones that drop out were actually in these universities before. So so I've seen so it's not like I'm trying to fully dismiss these systems. It's just that they work for some people. For some people, they don't. For me, they don't. But for many, they do, because if they go on these paths where no one else did go before, they might just die. So it's like, really just know your own lane, and
Mm.
and find your own space. It's really just like find your own space and see what is optimal for you and what works for you.
Mhm.
Given it's a really simple message, but it's also, it implies that you understand what's best for you, which a lot of people don't.
Mhm. Yeah, that's fair. And I want to switch gears a bit now, and I want to talk more about your experience at in the startups that you worked in early on. First of all, I want to ask, what do you think, especially working, specifically working in like Monument and Serendipity, that was one of your big breaks where you actually got to work with people in Silicon Valley. What do you think was your biggest piece of learning working in that?
Um, my biggest piece of learning, the good thing about this question is that makes me think so much.
Yeah.
Um,
So take your
and
time, by the way.
yeah, so what I like about this is literally everything I learned there um, was about how startups work, because I knew how to code, right? Like I don't think for past 1 year I have learned more about coding. I mean, you could learn that either way while building. It's just like it's a side product. But what did you actually learn? What I actually learned was startup founders, and how they run a company. What I actually learned was how how you can sell things, how to be good at selling, how to be good at talking to investors, how to fit well into the whole ecosystem, how to manage a team, and the people skills that come with it. Those were my greatest learnings,
Mm-hmm.
and really like talking to people who were building on ground and the CEOs. I went to Korea for the hackathon and talked to a lot of people there. So my experience with, I think, Monument specifically was really, it was my first step into, I think, the Silicon Valley culture, and
Mm-hmm.
that itself was explicitly my biggest learning, the Silicon Valley culture.
Mm-hmm. Right. And I also know that you went to with Mark to South Korea last year, and you like stayed there for quite a bit, and then you did a few hackathons, and that's where you like were building a monument. A lot of the coding you were doing was from there. I feel like I wanna dig a bit into that, because I feel like when people our age usually think of doing something like that, like just moving to a whole other country for a bit and just working for a company after college, or like I don't know if you did that in grade 12. You can talk more about that, but it seems very, well, one,
Very
scary, and
unsettled.
second, yeah, and second, you don't know how the hell to convince your parents. Like, how are you gonna tell them that you met these cool people on Twitter and you're gonna live with them for the next few months? Like, they're just gonna say they're gonna kidnap you or something. So how did you how did you like, well, one, um how did you, one, end up doing that and gained funds for doing that, and second, how did you convince your parent for that?
Yeah. So the the thing that comes with being Asian is that, and specifically in South Asian, Indian, and the families, is the parental control on you is huge, right? And what I've learned is this control usually doesn't work out well for so many people. And I wish, I wish parents could, Asian parents could just, I guess, let go a little bit more, so their their children could just, I guess, explore the world, get to explore the world a bit more. And for me, it's more about experience. So um, Korea was definitely very expensive, right? And though I was able to fund it with my job, it was definitely very expensive from like an Indian perspective. And the reason I was able to fund it was because I was, let's say, I was privileged enough to have a mom who valued experiences over money, right? And she really wanted me to go and just see things that she never saw in her life, right? And I think it's just a matter of like privilege that I had an understanding mom, and a lot of people I know don't have that, right? It's like a lot of people I talk to, they have kind of given their complete given up their complete agency to their parents, to no fault of their own, really. It's because their parents still don't have a trust built in their children, and it's just, even though they probably should, right? So number one, I think I was lucky to have a very sweet mom who let me do things. Also, she was a single mother, right? If I had a dad, I don't think I'd be able to do any of it. Probably, yeah. So also, I would say I was like a bit fortunate enough for that. A lot of people don't say it. Like being a single child is usually unfortunate because statistically you end up poor, you end up in criminal gangs. But
Yeah.
for me, it only worked out well. So it's really, some things are really only fine tuned for you, that it work out for you, but I can't work out for everyone else. So about funds, it was really just, I knew I wanted to get this experience. I knew it would be life changing for me. Why was it life changing? It was because, again, I experienced things I never did before, and it changed me as a person. And so I think I answered like two parts of your question, and the other part was like, how did I even comprehend doing it, right? And what how could others do it
Mm-hmm.
if they want to do it, or something along the lines of that. So it's really that, to gain independence, you can, okay, so you can really only do this if you're independent. If you're really free of constraints, and a lot of students of my age, their constraints are money and parents in Asia. Um, in the United States, their parents are less of a constraint. Money is more of a constraint. So, but in Asia, you have both these things. And to get out the parental constraint, I think one thing I've seen work is start earning. Start earning,
Mm-hmm.
literally. And the more you earn, they really just start trusting you. Um, they realize, okay, he knows what he's doing. And then they, I guess, when you make them realize that you know what you're doing, they'll let you do things that you want to do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And just make them realize that. And one vector to make them realize that, I think, is monetary vector, which is just earn. and and how do you earn? You work, right? You work with cool people, you work with exceptional people, and provide value to them. So
Mm-hmm.
that is one, right? And the other way was like, sometimes you do just have to take a leap forward. I was very nervous. I never did an international trip before, but I just had to take the leap forward. I just had to do it. So I just did it. Right. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's out of the comfort zone. Just go out of the comfort zone and do it. And
Mm-hmm.
there's really nothing more to it. It's like, if once you do it, you're set for life, in a way that once you do it, you'll know every time you do it, it'll usually go well. Also, if
Mm-hmm.
it goes wrong, really no one cares. It's for you.
Yeah.
You learn, right? You learn, and you'll probably grow out of it. So,
Yeah.
and it all went well. It went very well. It was, yeah, I think, the best days of my life were in Korea. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
till now. I'm probably gonna have more best days soon,
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice to know, and I really love the way you put your words into that framing. How like you can best gain your trust of your parents and gain more freedom by basically showing that you know what you're doing, that you are providing people value, and you're getting rewarded for that. I do think that's a very powerful statement, and I feel like it also comes from like most kids who are able to do that. I feel like it also comes from like a sense of like they they always sort of wanted to be independent. And I've seen the people who are like most confident doing things, they're like they almost always from a very early age they just did a lot of things independently. And I was raised by a single mother too, so I can definitely relate there that when you're raised by a single parent, you do end up doing a lot of things by yourself that normally like your other parent would do. I'd remember like I'd be the one like ordering Ubers and stuff for my mom when I was in grade 4. And I learned that so early. And when I used to when I had to like go somewhere really far in the city, I used to live in New Delhi, I'll just pull up Google Maps and do that. And feel like when parents trust you for this small stuff very early on, you get it
Yeah,
very a sense of independence that almost bleeds into your other aspects of life in the future. Because if you can master these fundamental aspects of navigating through your own life at a very early age and even help your parent, that bleeds into you building your own life in the future. Yeah.
yeah, that
Do you
makes
really
so much.
do you relate with that? Like, did you have some sort of independence that your mom gave when you were young?
Uh, okay, yep. So what I think I had a lot of freedom compared to other students of my age back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I opened my Facebook account back when I was 9 years old, probably illegal, but so my mom opened it for me. It was see. I had my own Facebook. I learned to create like Facebook pages and posting memes on it. And my mom used to like show me some memes, and I used to post. So she was very tech savvy from the beginning, and it
Nice.
kind of so it kind of got into me. And a lot of students of my age, back in like first grade or second grade, I used to ask them about, hey, do you have like a Facebook account? They were like, well, what even is that, bro? So yeah, I mean, um, being tech savvy really helps since the beginning, and that is what freedom enabled me to. Because I think that was the age when using mobiles and like using computers was like not as prevalent in Asia, and it was more of annotated with like playing games. It's usually only for playing games, right? And parents looked at computers from that perspective. Only recently after COVID has it changed that
Yeah.
parents think it's like of an education thing. You get to talk to teachers, whatever. That's really only changed. That's really the only way how parents' brains can be wired. Now we can finally talk to a teacher. Now it's a good thing. Oh wow. But um, but yeah, a lot of students, a lot of I think children of my age that time literally had no access to computers. I mean, they had it at their home, but their fathers were like, "No, you can't touch it."
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, so what worked out in my best interest was really my mom gave me freedom to just be more curious and look around, and I think give me access to computers. That was like one of the best freedoms that I got, which
Hmm.
which I hope Constitution had was like an unalienable right, but uh, but yeah. So that one freedom I think transcended into many other freedoms eventually. Yeah, single.
Cool. And yeah, I want to like one of the questions I often ask on this podcast is, and I always get a really cool answer for this, is that what's a belief held by your parent that you found important to reevaluate and then eventually you chose to defy that?
Oh, so okay, so one belief held by parent that you defied.
Yeah.
I
And
see.
why is that?
Okay, I mean that's a very interesting question. Question will probably make me look back in history, and I'm pretty sure there's too many of them. But I was a rebel from the beginning, to be honest.
Did you used to be the kid that used to get good grades all the time in life?
Yes, till I was in seventh grade. Yes. After I
Hmm.
learned to code, my grades fell off.
Hmm. Fair enough.
Yeah. So I, I I I used to be I used to have like very good grades back then, right? So okay, one thing I defied, the biggest thing would really just be, my mom believed in, you know, bringing good grades and going to good college until last year, right? And she really had a dream in mind for me, and that dream
Mhm.
was that I'd go into some prestigious college in India. I'd have
Mhm.
friends, I'd be socially very active, and she just wanted me to live a college life that she herself wasn't able to see, right? And she had this whole life planned out for me. She bought a home, and she also bought it was like a huge loan. She did so many things for me, and the way I, let's say, like defied her was really just being like, oh no, I just want to, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do school. I don't want to do college. I just want to be nomadic, travel the world, and learn more things,
Mhm.
be be a founder, be an entrepreneur, and really do things the unorthodox way. And so, even though she did give me a lot of creative freedom, but she too never really saw in her life what could happen if we go the other ways, right? She had a plan for me, a very usual life, and by very usual, by very the good ones, what's
Mhm.
considered prestigious in India. And I think I think I've, by a lot of metrics, I've let's say that I've dismissed it, or maybe gone a bit beyond that. So, and actually she's pretty proud of me for it. So it's like it's like anything I did was with her manufactured consent. And so a lot of times it's also this thing where you don't quite get consent from your parents. Your parents don't like what you do. At that point, I would say you sometimes just have to, you can't abandon them, so you have to manufacture consent, use media, um, use all tools at your disposal to, I think, debate and talk through things. Also,
Mhm.
in debate, you might just realize you were the wrong person, so there's
Yeah.
that too. Yeah. And I've always used this framework to go through any decision, and it's usually important in Asian families where there's like a hierarchical structure where you have to kind of obey the rules, and you have to you know make other, like, talk to other stakeholders for things,
Mhm.
which is very different from the American model where you're like 18 and you get out of the house. But um, in the Asian model, what I like about it is that you still have family support, plus you have a chance to manufacture consent, right? So if you mix both of these the best of these both worlds, you can really make a good world for yourself.
I You really put that so beautifully. I actually love the way you put that because I feel like it's so easy to just think you're right all the damn time when you're young. Because I used to do that, and I feel like everyone has that phase sometime in their young life. And I really like how you especially bring up that when you're in debate, sometimes you just realize you're wrong yourself, and it's so important to just have the debate for that very reason. Because if we think we're right all the time,
Yeah,
that just doesn't make sense. That's just leading to a bad path. Because at the end of the day, a lot of times our parents do look out for ourselves in the good ways, and if we can them, re, we can reason them reasonably. It always comes out in the good sense. You in the best of both worlds. You get a family that loves you, that supports you, and you get what you want in the best way possible. And yeah, I
sure.
definitely think there's few things that provide that satisfaction in life. And I really love how self-aware you are with those things. And I think that's a pattern that I've seen with every single person I've talked on this podcast, that every person just on this podcast that I bring, they just happen to be so self-aware about themselves, about that they could be wrong at a lot of times, and they need to fix that, need to keep an open mind. And I truly think that's what like makes a lot of people exceptional, is because they constantly look for things they're doing wrong and other doing wrong and other are doing right, and that's how they tailor
Constant
their
feedback.
exactly. And
Yeah,
I think something common that I see with these people is also they go on a lot of walks. Would you say you do that?
uh, I go on a lot of walks.
Yeah,
So I do go on a lot of walks, but that is only when I listen to songs and music.
fair enough.
And, and the thing is, when I listen to music, I don't quite think through a lot of things. I use walking as an escape mechanism from the
Hmm.
real world to just get in a bit of a peace of mind. So I
Mm-hmm.
don't use walking as a tool for self introspection. I mean, I remember sometimes I did that, but usually what I do for self introspection is to just think all the time. I mean, so okay, so it's like 90% of the time I would think, and
Mm-hmm.
let's say the other 10 is like peacetime, right? So I I usually haven't needed like a time to think. It's more that I think it when I'm thinking, and which is
Mm-hmm.
all the time. And then I need the peace of time, which is like walking, listening to music, and really just doing your own stuff when you can just keep your brain out for a second and go out. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for me it's a pretty it's very different from the way you put it. I use walking as a tool to as an escape mechanism. Some people call it coping mechanism, but
Yeah.
it is. So I use walking as a tool for just keeping my brain shut down
Mm-hmm.
for a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice new approach that I hear from you, and I find that pretty cool. And that you just normally just how you introspect into yourself is just like think a lot all the time by yourself. So
Yeah,
that's
it's I think
super cool.
more inbuilt into me. I feel like it, though the drawbacks of it is that you don't want to be thinking all the time. I would love to have the blissful ignorance. It keeps you more happy sometimes.
Yeah.
So so I'd love to be just like blissfully ignorant and just be happy all the time. But I don't think it's possible for everyone. I know a lot of people that know how to do it and do it very well, and
Hmm.
I'd love to learn from them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like
Eh,
9:24 p.m. now.
yeah.
Wow, this
Also, are
was
you?
okay. Oh, like this was so nice. Just keep going for 1 hour. I just love talking.
Yeah, I know, right? I love these conversations, and honestly, this podcast, this does not feel like work to me at all because I'm genuinely having the best time just having these conversations because there's nothing else that I'd rather find more fun. So this is super cool. And yeah, again, thanks so much for being here. This is so sick.
Yeah, like you're making me think through things that I probably never thought through before, and so that this gives me more, I guess, avenues for introspection where I could possibly improve myself, and that's what I like about this. I wish we could
Yeah,
do more. Of this. Yeah.
yeah, I 100% agree. And how has a failure or apparent failure set you up for later success? And do you have a favorite failure of yours?
So I'd say, okay, so there's this saying that is, you end up regretting things you don't do, right? But you don't regret things that you did, usually, right?
Yeah.
And why that happens is because when you do something and when you look back on it, you realize it only turned out well. Like there was no other way around because
Yeah.
you could have known what it would have been like if it was some other route, right? You could never not predict more success than you could predict what happened till now.
Hmm.
Um, I guess that's a bit more convoluted, but what I mean here is it's hard to tell a failure that you know was really a failure in life because that failure probably led to what I'm today. So maybe
Hmm.
that's not failure, right? And so there are many such instances, but I'm not sure if it's like worth bringing up in this podcast. It's some of them are pretty silly, some of them are pretty embarrassing, some of them are like um, not huge enough for, but yeah, like that would be my answer. How did I do?
Hmm. No, I like that answer. That I really like the part where you said those failures are probably not even failures because they eventually gave you the genesis of what your success is today. And
Exactly, right.
I really like that mindset. I feel like pretty much every mistake I've made in the past, whether in the moment it felt like such a big failure and I felt like a disappointment at certain times, it did end up
Unless you can
being
predict the future, unless you can
exact.
like, unless you have like an admin access to like all the lines, timelines, and the universe and the multiverse. Only then you can really answer the question of like what that failure was that really set you apart for life. Because I don't know if that was really a failure. Um,
Yeah.
there are like failures, like um, let's say like failing a test, which is just failure by societal standards. So sure, I guess those are the failures, but other than that, I don't know if there are failures for me yet that I can like count on as like a big failure.
Mm.
I will have something soon. I am at a choice point right now, by the way. Not right now, but I was or will be. That I would be.
And next question is that in the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
I say so. A behavioral habit. Um,
Mm. Feel free to take your time.
um,
I wouldn't say they're off.
I see. So, um, let's talk about beliefs first. That is, um, really what in the last 5 years I've realized is I've started to put emphasis on freedom over everything. And what happened with that is it allowed me to gain more access, more happiness, more utility, and overall I started to measure freedom as a unit of happiness. And that I think changed my life by a lot because it made me happier overall. Because I used to remember the times when I was like confused, I was sadder than I'm now. In like a comparative sense. So I was able to get out of it after I, let's say, put more emphasis on freedom over everything
Mm-hmm.
else, right? And that I think was one of my most behavioral change, or let's say change in beliefs that helped me grow out of, let's say, my past.
Mm-hmm. So, to sum everything up, like putting your priorities on actually having freedom in your life.
Exactly. So anything I do, it's to maximize freedom, not just for me, but also on a greater, let's say, an ideological spectrum. I am a consequentialist utilitarian, which is, spreading maximum freedom for maximum people on this planet. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe if there are multiple in the multiverse, maybe if that's a thing. But
Mm-hmm.
um, and that's what I try to do for myself too. I look at statistics. I look at what's possible. I look at what's not possible. I look at data. I'm very analytical at times to do anything I do, and and that is so again the main belief, core belief I was able to get at is to measure happiness by units of freedom.
Mm-hmm. I actually, again, like keep loving the way you put these things in because I truly agree with the freedom part of it because, like, when I was applying to universities back in grade 12, there was a question in a university application that asked me, what's the most important thing in life for you? And I put the same exact, very close to what you said there as the answer that freedom is the most important. Not even just a financial freedom, but just the freedom to do things, to
Yeah,
express kindness, love, and just to invent things. And yeah, I 100% agree because when you have that, you have the autonomy to do anything.
yeah. And autonomy is
Yeah,
everything. If you
exactly,
can't behave in your own agency, what are you, right? You're only a
exactly.
puppet. So yeah, my biggest what the belief helped me in doing is to get out of my puppet phase and to not be pushed around anymore. Well, I'm still pushed around by other factors, by less everyone's pushed around
Mm,
by their circumstances. It's just that you have to, let's say, lower some nods and like lower the count of circumstances that really push you.
mm. Again, I love how much self-aware you are there, because a lot of times people would have a blatant statement that they completely have no one moving them around, no factors, but at the end of the day we do have some
Oh,
influences from everywhere, and yeah, that's just unavoidable, and it's honestly okay, because that's how we work as social animals.
yeah. So
Yeah.
humans are products of the circumstances, and it always plays out, right? Like no human really is above the whole, you know, everything going on that, around them. So
Hmm.
everything plays into what we do. Everything plays into what we think, and
Yeah.
it's usually a cause effect chain that led to what it is to. So
Yeah.
usually ride the wave and see where you go.
Yeah. 100%. And next question I have is that, what is the book or books you have given most as a gift, and why? Or if you haven't given them as a gift, what are simply one, two, three books that have greatly influenced your life?
So I see. So this question like as a like what I like about it is it implies I'm into books, which which I'm not quite. So
Fair
a
enough.
lot of people read a lot of books. What I've found out for myself is I'm more into video form of content or audio form of content, and I've never been able to like sit at a place and like just turn pages. Um, so I have done it. I do it for the books which are exceptionally good, and so the first book I like seriously read was the there was like a time machine fictional book. I don't even remember the name, but the second book I read, which actually made which affected my life, was Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad Poor Dad. Everyone read it, so everyone reads it, everyone knows it. So it's not like I agree with what Robert Kiyosaki does or says every time, but everything in the book was so nicely well crafted. It was so good, and I learned a lot from it. I learned about basic things that really everyone should know: assets, liabilities, and how you maximize your assets while
Mm-hmm.
minimizing liabilities, and how. So like every adult knows it, but if you're a kid, you should probably read it. So that's actually number one. Um, so that was like one book I read, and then there are some other books like Napoleon Hill's How Money Works, and also wait, no, it was not How Money Works. That was someone else's. Um, but usually the books I've read are like financial-ish, and and also I've read Zero to One by Peter Thiel.
Yep.
And and I've learned a lot from those. But I haven't like gifted books to someone yet.
Hmm.
Good idea. I'll definitely do it. Because I haven't gifted them because I myself don't read them often. I'm more of a video consumer. I work, I code, and I have like videos playing in the background. I have sounds and podcasts playing in the background. So
Interesting.
I am a more multimedia consumer. And
Nice. But let me ask this then. What would you say are your favorite multimedia channels slash podcasts slash resources that you'd recommend to people, like your top three?
I see. So if you look into my YouTube, it's very much filled with YC stuff, like how to build a company and how to um, really scale it, how to raise funds, and like really all this stuff. And that is like one part of YouTube that my YouTube is filled with. Then the other part is current affairs and politics, which also I really watch a lot, right? And that too, like I think politics is like one measure to like it is one way to weigh someone's smartness in like current world, because when you look at people and how they think through and what their frameworks are, to come up to like political conclusions to and solutions to ideas, right? you get to know how their solutions are, which sometimes fascinates you, and also into like philosophy. So I'm also very much into that. So I do when I read multimedia, it's usually philosophical content, startup content, current news affairs, and yeah, those are the kinds of content I usually watch online.
Hmm. Interesting. Super cool.
Yeah, I think.
It almost makes it all. You almost nudge me to get to be more aware of my current affairs and politics. I should probably start doing that.
The I wish I was also like blissfully ignorant, because a lot of people I see are like on Twitter scrolling through like politics and like getting angry and like things, and like really just arguing with like random people online. It also gets toxic. So when I mean that, I don't mean that. So when I say politics, I don't mean that. Just like get into it, but like don't indulge yourself into it too much that you become the part of the problem, right? Build stuff and um, and build stuff, build great things, and people will like what you do and provide value to the world. So eventually, you will have a voice. Right now, so it's how much one has a voice is like a spectrum. Right? Elon Musk has a lot of. Everyone hears him. Everyone hears what he has to say, right? And then there are other people who doesn't have people to hear, right?
Yeah.
Right? No one hears them basically. So I would like to get at a point where people can hear me and what I have to say on a general level, and that is possible if you build and provide value to the world, right? So it is one vector of getting there,
Yeah.
and I believe this is true for everyone. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like a lot of people who talk about these things, even like politics or society related, economics related, they have had some sort of pivotal value that they have provided in the world. Like for example, Vitalik's blog is super popular, where he talks a lot about economics. Sam Altman talks about universal basic income, and he is known for that. Paul Graham, I haven't heard him about politics, but his blogs are absolutely phenomenal. So I definitely agree. When you provide value to the world, your voice ha- your voice starts to have more value.
true, true. Also there are like a lot of like political pundits where their only value that they provide to the world is politics itself, and then the only their voice itself is their value, right?
Yeah.
That is the entertainment sector. So it's not like you always have to build, but like build and provide value to the people. It could be in any sector really.
Hmm.
And I've seen people get viral on Instagram and all that stuff. So there's like other huge things people could do these days, and we are just like one sector of it. Like we're doing our own thing, and there's just so many other things. So
Hmm.
if I could say anything, it's that there's just so many other avenues too. Like just go and look up and like find your own ways, right? Just like how you and I found our own ways.
Yeah. 100%. I guess one of the things I want to ask is, do you ever feel like you want to chase that sort of fame or quote unquote clout? The feeling of going viral. Do you ever feel like you're like even subconsciously chasing that, or is that something you eventually want in your life because that will give you more value and that will give your voice more value?
So Nawal said a very interesting thing in like the Joe Rogan podcast. That is, if you
I
you're
I
yeah, you're better off anonymous and rich than be poor and famous, right?
yeah.
So it's so I do believe in that. And if you have to be famous, it should be for a reason, and the reason is usually to change the world, because then you can use your fame to bring change in the world by really steering through, like being the captain of a ship, and like steering through the policies that run and guide the world. And that is only, and I guess have some clout, people to listen to, or have a, let's say, if you're able to create movements, right, which can bring positive change to society, right, then I guess that fame usually pays out. So for me personally, it's like, unless I have some goal like that in mind, I don't think fame is gonna pay off for me. So um, unless like it monetarily helps me, also in a good way, a lot of people just out there drifting. But
Yeah.
yeah, so for me right now, it's about heads down and build. Heads down and build. And when you really build something good, I think it just fame might just come as a byproduct. But I mean, when you start doing things expecting fame, it's usually like it usually go in the wrong directions. Which I guess we know online a lot of people get into. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I really like how Nawal says that you want to be like with the whole the advent of social media. It's like it's become so easy to it's become so easy to be famous, and when you become famous, you start to care a lot about other people. Like it comes with it, obviously, and
Yeah.
when you're trying to spark really positive change in the world, you start to deal with like the fame that comes with it. You start to deal with the fact that you have to care about people every once in a while to have your voice heard. But when people are chasing that quote unquote clout just for the sake of it, it's like you come in the worst you come in the worst trade off possible, because you're instead of being anonymous and rich, you're poor and famous, which is where you care about a lot about other people while you do not have the monetary gains and you're not providing value to someone. Like your mental state, that's not the mental state basically you would want yourself to ever be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, 100% resonate with that. I'll also link the video in the bio of this episode for people to watch. And
Oh, say so YouTube will have, I guess, this video.
yeah,
Oh, nice. So this cool view paid off.
yeah, cool view paid off. Now you're rethinking, oh god damn it, should I have made my hair better?
Oh, I'm definitely thinking that. Yeah, video. I've been like, ooh. Yeah.
Oh god, you're looking just great with the I don't know what you call the white thing. Is it? Forgot the name for that. But
I like
anyways,
hairs.
sorry.
You mean like colored hairs? What?
Yeah, like that. Oh, highlights. I don't know if that's nice.
So I have
Really?
like, I did that in Korea actually. Like, also having Asian parents is so unimaginable to do it. I was so fucking scared to like go back to Korea after that. Um, but again, I manufactured consent. Well,
Nice. Nice. I really like that. Manufactured consent. And next question I have is, and I have how many more? Basically four more short questions. And the first one, this shouldn't take too long. It's that what purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months or in recent memory?
I see. Oh, I mean that Vespa's advanced React course. Well, it was gifted, but if I would have purchased it, that would have been the greatest payoff ever. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's like an easy answer right there.
And how
That,
much did it cost?
I think it was around. It easily goes like $89 or something. And
That's
there's
not
like,
bad at all.
yeah, like there's like two tiers of it. So back in 2018, it was like that. It was like $89. Today is probably more, and he keeps updating it. So if you are into coding and if you're like kind of into it already, like first please watch free YouTube videos out there, and only if you know you're really gonna be able to keep up with all of it, only then go and buy these tutorials if you like believe in it. I see a lot of
Yeah.
people just buy things and then not do anything with it. So don't do that. And just there are a lot of free tutorials out there.
Yeah.
But if there's any paid course you want to buy, this is the one I might just recommend. And
Mhm.
yeah, not
Yeah, I'll
sponsored.
probably ask you the link for this after the podcast.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And next question I have is, what advice would you give to a smart, driven high school college student? And second part of this is that, what advice should they ignore?
I say. It's to. I think I'd be reiterating myself when I say it. It's just you don't have to you don't have to go through the given options. You don't have to go through the same routes that the system has put forward for you. And I guess if they're smart, they will just realize it by themselves too. Um, Really find like go out of the whole the system, and I mean some people call it matrix, but I don't call it that because it has like a really negative connotation now. But um, some really stupid people have like caught on to that name. But get out of the whole system and like look around and just look around and try to find ways where you could provide real value to the world and or to someone, like not the world. It's probably just too big of a commitment. Just provide value to someone so someone could pay you for the value you provide, and try to create your network, because network is your net worth. And 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 really that would be the advice. And the advice to not follow would be to really just everything else that schools tell you to do. It's, I mean, it's just so repeated. It's just so like it's tried and tested. A lot of people who do well, but majority don't do well. It's a system where it just filters people out to the top.
Hmm.
So unless you know you're in the top, unless you have been bringing good grades, unless you know you're really just good at it, don't get into that race. Find your own thing, find your own skill, build, provide value.
Really nicely put. And what advice should they ignore, would you say?
Oh, it was this
Okay, fair enough. Don't
again,
follow the rat race.
yeah, I mean this the rat race. I mean, no one
Yeah,
calls it a rat race in school. It's just no one really calls it a rat
yeah,
race. It is a rat race. So just
yeah,
get out of it. Yeah.
yeah. Fair enough.
Get
And
out of it unless you know you're the biggest rat in the rat race. So yeah.
mhm, yeah. And second last question I have is when you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus temporarily, what do you do?
I see. So so it's like it's one of those questions where I've seen. So like some friends do ask me, like, how do I manage time? How do I manage college plus manage job plus also I guess all this traveling I did, right? And this question is a bit synonymous to it, and the answer to that was like I've just been winging it. I don't know, and it's really like I don't have a schedule, right? I'd love to be the person who like wakes up early and exercises and really does all the things that you think a healthy, active, a Hollywood actor would do. And I'd love to do all these things. I'd love to have a schedule. I'd love to like be a really good manager, everything on time, punctuate. Um, I'm not that, right? And I'm trying to be that. And so it's like the real answer to it is that I'm winging it. I'm really just winging it. And I'm seeing what really just brings out the best outcome in the present. And like it's a queue, like incoming tasks, like first in, first out. Um, so it just comes in, goes out, comes in, goes out. And I just keep doing it until the whole task void fills up.
Hmm. Is there ever time where you like? I'm sure like with what you mentioned, you only choose the things you really like you want to do. You don't follow the conventional approach, and which I really admire. Is there ever a time, even with this unconventional approach, where you're building your own path? Sometimes you just get demotivating that you just don't want to code for like a bit, or you just want to take a break that you just can't get back to it. Does it ever happen? Does that ever happen, and how do you get back to it if it does?
Yes, fatigues and like burnouts, it's so common and like happened to me, used to happen to me all the time. And even today, it's like by today, I mean like even recently, it does happen, though the frequency of its happening has been reduced by a lot. And one way to reduce it is just is to really take breaks. There's this Pomodoro technique, right? I mean, a lot of people say it. I heard about it. I tried to implement it. It didn't work. But really, if you just try to take more breaks, it'll work out well. Um, just go out on the walks. Put your headphones in your ears. Go out on walks. It really helps. So that is what I've been doing. Every time I've been stuck in some really bad trench, I just couldn't get out of it. I just don't want to code. At that point, I just don't code. Though I understand not everyone has the privilege to do that. There are companies where I think burnout is pretty much incentivized. So I understand not a lot of people can also go through that, and I've been through those instances as well. So do what you can, and it's like try to maintain your mental peace of mind as much as you can, while
Mm-hmm.
making sure you're happy and more free. Because again, freedom is your unit of happiness.
100%. Nicely put again. And now, off to our last question of the entire podcast,
Wow,
and this is a vague one. What truly makes you happy in life?
I see. So, what truly makes me happy in life? I'd say it's when I see people. So, okay, so like personal level, and then there's a on a universal level, what makes me happy, and there's a
Hmm.
personal level, right? So, on a personal level, it's it's just what everything else has. Everyone else has it, right? So, what does everyone else want? A a huge car, a huge like all the material things, a really good settled life, a good family, um, and a really good like multiple stream of incomes, being free enough to be able to travel anywhere, and not you know and just be free enough to pursue your goals, and be free enough to be able to change the world and voices have a voice that people hear. So if I the more I get that, the more happier I'll generally be. So it's like I'm right now I'm what, like I'm like 19, right? So this is your like material phase, very like materialistic. When you grow old, I guess the materialistic stage will like end as I get more things, right? And that is when the true happiness becomes, oh, I just want to be a monk. So I'm in this phase of life where this answer will keep changing, right? Right now, what makes me happy is the latest and greatest iPhone, which is a lame answer. Um, but I'm gonna be honest with it, right? So really just optimize with what makes you happy in your current time frame, in your current time and space, and it's gonna keep changing. And just keep being happy, just keep being free, and that would be my answer. On like a personal level, that is what makes me happy, which is really just what it's same as everyone, really.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what makes people happy is when the unit of input is least, and compared to that, if the output is maximum, the higher the ratio gets, the happier people are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, does that make sense to you? Like,
The
the more
higher it gets, the happier the people are. What
so,
gets higher?
uh, so okay, the lower your input is into anything, okay, and the higher output you get. The lowest input and the highest output.
Hmm.
The wider this ratio goes, the happier you become.
So what does your lower input mean?
So lower input, it could mean it. Okay, so let's say there's like a hard worker, a let's say a masonry person who is like putting bricks in wall. Um, Unfortunately, how much is he earning, right? And he has to sweat and toil in the sun. He has to
Hmm.
really go through some really bad stuff. And what's the output? The input is a lot, and the output is really less. And they're not happy people generally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and not just that, even in the relationships and families, where you have to put a lot of input, but you don't get a lot of output, you're unhappy, right? So
Mm-hmm.
really, like the one metric of happiness is freedom, but that freedom comes from when you're able to put when you're able
Hmm.
to have enough input time frames where you can put least input and get maximum output.
Interesting.
So so that is what makes me happy. So that's like my formula of like it really works on everyone else too, most of the
Well,
time.
to challenge you a bit, there is the does this definition of happiness mean you eventually want to stop working as hard and try to put in things, but try to get the maximum output there? Like, say if there's two scenarios where you put in a certain amount of input and you get a pretty high output, so the ratio between, or the gap between input and output is pretty high. But another
I
scenario where you put a lot of input and you get less, the difference between the output and input is less, but the output is more impactful in changing
Yeah,
the world. What would your option be there?
if the output is more impactful in changing the world, that just means the output was way higher than input. So the formula still kind of stands though. I guess I get it. I get what you're saying. It's like on a personal
Mm-hmm.
level, like, what do you get out of it? And people think of it in the monetary sense. So yes, it doesn't always work in monetary sense. Like for example, a lot of really good projects out there that change the world. You know, the people who made it are not rich, right? Are unhappy, but they changed the world somehow, right? And it was impactful. Um, and it was very much impactful, and it was good that did it. And a lot of people, some of them feel happy that did it, and some of them don't. So it's like, does it work there? The reason it this formula still would work there is because it's what you're expecting too, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what degree of expectations you have from the input. So if the expectations are set correctly, it should still work. Of course, it's not like you just sit and get everything. That's not going to happen, right? So just like if we expect the right amount, or sometimes if we don't expect anything, it's like um, under promise and over deliver, right? If you just don't
Yeah.
expect anything, you'll be more happier in general. Do what you can and provide value to the world
Mm-hmm.
as much as you
Oh.
can, and in the most time, like just make most use of the time you
Mm.
have.
Yeah, that's nicely put. Also, really like the saying you said there, that under promise or under commit and over deliver. I feel like that's a really good saying that just spans across pretty much everywhere in life. That either it's with their internal expectations or giving someone else expectation, it always puts us in a better place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, this was so great. I love this. Like I've never probably thought through things so much and like never say things like this.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, just like to would just like to put this as well. A lot of things I say, I might just contradict them myself. So I'd like to revisit a lot of those and would like to follow my words and live up to my words in a way that is helpful to me and also people around me.
Yeah. Well, that's, yeah, I really again appreciate the introspection you have in yourself and just the self-reflection aspect of your, and just being self-aware for yourself. So again, really find that super cool how active you are with that. And yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation,
Me
and
too.
this was super fun. Thanks so much for being here, Kumar. And yeah, we'll stay connected. I'll update you how this goes.
Yeah, I really love this. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'd love to do more of this all the time. And yeah, I'd love to hear my own voice, though I cringe at my own voice all the time. So like, I'm not sure if
All
I would.
everyone does.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I like to hear. I like to get the validations of my experiences. But
You don't know how much trauma I get when I hear my own voice while I'm editing these podcasts. Holy crap!
oh my God, I only pray for you. I hope everything. I hope you like the way you're doing it.
I'll, I will survive. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
But
Oh, with
again,
that.
have a great time in Bangkok, and again, have an amazing time in San Francisco next month. And very excited to see your journey and where you end up.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'd love to meet you sometime very soon. Yes.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Yeah.
Okay, have an amazing night. I'll see you around, Kumar.
Yeah. Bye.
But
Thank you so much for listening. It means the world to me. This music is not mine, and it is from Vox documentary called Explained. It's its intro song, so shout out to them for the music, and see you in the next episode.